Final game of the day coming your way. It's ENCE versus Riddle. And I think a game at the start of the season, most people would have quite easily put in Riddle's favor. But that is definitely not the case anymore. ENCE
I mean,
right
we still
now,
are, except Gold Dog.
Yeah, I know.
It's Ox. It's Ox.
Me.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
me. Are you going next, Scandal? Or?
No. I'm gonna let you.
I firmly believe this is ENCE's favored now. I think Riddle came into this. We had high expectations. Everyone's saying they're top 4, and they have again and again shattered them. I think ultimately they seem very team fight reliant. Their macro and decision making has been off. Their comps have seemed a bit uncoordinated, and when they are coordinated, they haven't played towards them. And I think ENCE has been getting better and better. Particularly, I'm looking at Taiki and Seth, their support in jungle. They've been syncing up together well. They've been applying that early pressure, and I really think that they have a. I mean, it's not even I think they have a good shot. I keep saying this start today, like Godsent against XL, they have a good shot. I think ENCE are favored here. I think they are more likely to win, and I'll fight you on that.
I'm actually I'm not gonna fight you. You're strong and very scary man. I don't want to get into that. But I also agree with you on that point. I think that Riddle is actually the underdog coming into this one. Riddle has underperformed heavily in terms of macro and decision making as a team as of late. And when they have won, they have looked very team fight reliant. In a team fight, I could highlight so many good plays from Riddle. As soon as we get out of that team fight, I'm like, what is this team doing? Why are you there? What? And that's just Riddle to me. They rely so much on the individual skill. And I think if they need to take a win today, I would much rather see them take an easier team composition where they can allow themselves to make these kind of mistakes, but where they're actually ahead in a team fight scenario.
You traitor, you predicted Riddle and you're like, well, they're the underdog.
I believe in them. I believe in them, but that's the underdog story, okay?
Honestly,
I believe
playing both sides.
I don't believe they're the underdogs coming in, right? They have Senkax. He has shown that individually he can take the one-on-one skill matchups. Then you move on to Maxi, which coming into the tournament, we actually... I think we kind of put Maxi right after down. We're like, this guy is extremely skilled in the jungle. He can outpath everyone. He's just so clever. You move over to Doxy, you're like, wow, can a top laner fight 1v1 with Doxy? And then you move down to the bot lane, and I think Frost gave them sort of like a little award of the prime minister. If they would be something, they'd be the prime minister of the team. And Wendelbo and Ray have been doing amazingly in the bot lane as well. I feel like some mistakes are like sleeping through the cracks, and yes, they might be the ones that will lose them games, but individually I think the skill is there. I don't think they're coming in as the underdogs, and I still do believe that ENCE is the one chasing to beat Riddle.
I'm going to disagree. I think in the current form, I think Riddle, there've just been too many inconsistencies, and I think it's a difference in styles. I think you look at Taiki and the way he plays the jungle, he is there to empower his laners. He is there to make the whole team look better, whereas Riddle is what empowers Maxi. And Maxi is a really formidable jungler, I agree with you, but he needs his laners to be successful for him to find success. He's the sort of jungler who will challenge the enemy with priority once he's achieved it. And the problem is, Doxy and Senkax, I completely agree, at their best, they've been formidable, but they haven't always been at their best. We saw an Orianna game from Senkax where he missed more shockwaves than everyone else in the league combined, it felt like. And Doxy has also had some really questionable plays. We saw that when he was up against Champion. And I think ultimately we're seeing a situation here where Riddle at their best are still a really formidable roster. I will completely agree. But they haven't been at their best, not this week, not the last week. And I think ENCE are growing and they are getting better week by week.
Okay, question then, before we go to a break for Champion Select. At what point do we look at Riddle and say we discount the individual skill and just say they are worse than other teams? Because every time we've talked about Riddle, it's like, but at some point, these are good players and they're going to do well. But now it's been, what, like 6 games and that hasn't happened? So at what point do we turn around and say, maybe they just aren't as good as we thought they were?
Honestly, when you talk about individual skill and coming from a game where hat-tricks literally pops off and pulls BTXL out of a hole and insta-carries the entire game, I believe in Sankax, I believe in Doxy, and it's fine. Taiki might be the one who empowers his laners, but he's extremely predictable. He'll have a level 2, gank up top lane again. Doxy should expect that and should respect that. On the other hand, you don't know where Max is going to show up. When is he going to show up? How much time is he going to have? Is he going to work towards mid lane? Is he going to go top? Is he going to go bot? You just don't know, and I think this is what makes Riddle much stronger here.
Listen, Riddle is like my little kid, okay? They can be as bad as they want to. They can do the dumbest stuff ever. I'm still gonna say, let's go, boys. Let's keep it going. But the thing is, what you just said there, they should expect it, right? I feel like I've been saying that 2 weeks in a row now, where I'm like, you should expect this. You shouldn't take that fight. You should have not went for that play. Yet they have still done it. I just believe this is the game where they're coming out strong. But I'm not gonna act like they're not in a bad spot right now.
I fully believe if Riddle's solo laners don't stomp, ENCE have this.
Okay, statement to
I'll
end
see
on.
you on the prediction tab box. I'll be there.
Let's leave it at that. Let's go to a quick break. When we're back, it's Champion Select for our final game.
Touches me, Must be dreaming, think I saw a ghost. Or was it an angel of the past that we all know?
All right, Champion Select for our final game of the day. There was a lot of heat on the analyst desk before this one. Let's see if the teams can put the money where their mouth is for our respective analysts. It is ENCE on the blue side, Riddle on the red, Nidalee and Lulu banned straight up, followed by Avaris.
Yeah, exactly. Nidalee ban just straight up respect onto Maxi. The Lulu ban going against Vendelbo. They have loved the kind of hyper carry style with Ray, with the Lulu on Vendelbo, so that is no surprise there. Taking away the Karma here, we have seen Zephyr playing it, especially the first time these two teams played against each other. We did see Zephyr on this Karma. So, bans coming in here, but AD pool still fairly open. Aphelios, Kalista, Ezreal, all open and available.
I think as well, Volibear set both on the card. So for me, I feel like ENCE has gone quite a bit more targeted route in terms of their ban priority. And that means they should be able to get something strong in this first pick. Set's still open available, Syndra as well. But it means that when it comes to a double rotation for Riddle, they'll be able to answer back pretty heavily. I don't think we're going to see an AD carry pick just because there are so many open and available. But Thresh, definitely a strong pickup.
And we talked about how Cephei wants to be the playmaker here, right? Like his bar performance was absolutely fantastic. He can do the exact same thing with the Thresh. He can save his teammates and he can also engage clutch fights. So that is, if not the most worth first pick they could have made. And also, you deny that from Wendelbo, who wants to do the same and he wants to win the lane.
I kind of hope we see the Graves coming in here. We actually do, because that's the thing when you ban away the Nidalee. Frost was talking about this on the desk the game beforehand, that now you just open up for the Graves here. And last time these two teams played against each other, I think Maxi had the Graves too. And we actually see some blind picking AD carry, so I can only expect blind pick support coming into it too. Or counter pick, it will be on the third red side pick. But it just looked like they're hiding their solo laners so they can keep that priority to facilitate Maxi.
I like the Ashe here though, because it's a good matchup into the Callisto with the slows that can obviously keep it down, and the ult. It's good in the Ezreal because you have the priority, and then the Lulu being banned away lowers the priority of that Aphelios. And looks like they will lean towards the Ezreal, which is a big pick for Kevo, but the Kindred actually coming out as something specifically as an answer to Graves. So it seems like the Nidalee ban was planned out to suggest the Graves is a big pick for Maxi, and ENCE clearly have this answer.
And for me, locking in, sure, Kevo is a great Ezreal player, but pairing an Ezreal with a Thresh, it's like, wow, okay, dude, you want to be mega safe in the bot lane, we get it. But to me, this screams Cephei roaming around the map. This to me screams like they want to get a very strong pick either for Nile or for Simply and just roam around with Thresh and try to get them ahead as fast as possible. Because we said how Riddle want to do the same thing, right? They rely on their solo laners, but if you can counteract that by having a very fairly roaming support and a safe bot laner, I think this is a win for ENCE.
Yeah, going into this though, also talking about how Taiki is the kind of jungler that actually enable his laners, and when you're starting to play the likes of Kindred instead, your laners need to enable you. You're actually playing for yourself now. You can try to go that selfless style and try to play for the ganks, but that leaves open a lot of space for the Graves, Maxi in the jungle.
I think what's funny is we talked about Taiki being telegraphed, you know, that level 2 top lane gank. Can you imagine if he puts the mark over Doxy? And it's like, I wonder what he's going to be doing in the early game. I think mid's going to be an important factor here, and we're seeing the bans come out for the TF and Castin. We saw Senkux dominate this matchup, and I feel like Taiki's Kindred pick really falls apart if that happens here. So I think that's going to be an interesting one to come out. We could see a strong blind come out from Riddle, but really, I think it'd make a lot of sense if they look for a counter pick to really challenge Simply. We saw Senkux be an absolute monster on the LeBlanc, and if mid falls apart, jungle will take that as a knock-on effect.
Yeah, and in all honesty, you can see that this is pretty much the plan, right? You lock in the Thresh, you want him to roam, and suddenly all these mid lane bans are coming through. The Azirs, the Orianas, the roaming mid laners, the level 16 spike mid laners, and the likes of Cassin, even though I don't necessarily agree with the ban towards Cassin, because you know you have a Graves in the jungle, so it's not necessarily going to be against double AP. You get that freedom later on when you have an immobile carry like Ashe. So I'd like to see how they're going to play it here, because Syndra has slipped through the cracks, and it's not the
I was gonna say, like, yeah, it doesn't really matter that the Flex is still is close, because Syndra is still a strong champion in itself. I was gonna say that by putting the pressure onto Simply now, Simply, who last time he played against Senkux got individually outclassed, ENCE is a bit playing on the back foot here, unless Simply is able to take the task up against him.
Oh, I actually love this, though.
That is such a, oh my god, the classic Galio Camille coming in here. This is going to be brilliant. Take it away, Ox.
Yeah, I love this combo because we're talking about how obviously Taiki typically plays for lanes. This allows Simply to play for him. They can also lean into the top side to set up Nilly, who has been unleashed on a carry who can stay on the later stages. And we saw the Syndra coming up, and I think that's a great pick for Senkux in this situation. But the Galio is a really solid answer, and I think ENCE have given themselves a lot of tools to play out this early game. But I think, honestly, going from all the drafts we've seen today, I think for me, this is the most even. Both teams got win conditions to play to, and both teams got a clear identity with what they're trying to achieve.
And imagine all the wombo combos that will come, right? Because Syndra will unleash power, Kindred will pop ultimate, whoever runs into this ultimate will get locked in by the Camille, and then you have a flying Galio straight onto your face with a Trusha barrage. It's going to be wombo combo on wombo combo, and from what I'm seeing right here, I see a very top side heavy map for both of these teams. You want to get the Ergot ahead and you want to snowball the Camille. So that level 2 we were talking about, guys, maybe it's coming from Taiki. You never know.
Yeah, getting a feeling like a lot of individual skill expression is going to be needed on both sides, especially top side of the map here for Doxy and Nille. Let's hand over to our casters. And as you may have guessed, because we have trouble on the desk, that means we've switched over. Hipbrain and Froskurin will be casting this.
Yeah, we've done the old switcheroo here. Hello and welcome, and get ready to go into game number 4. Frosk, ENCE the favorites coming into this game. Everyone on the desk was saying that, although if you look at the votes on Twitter, everybody actually went for Riddle. I'm curious what you think of this game, and like, where's your prediction going? Just looking at the team comps, let's take the nameplates off for a second. Who are you favoriting right now?
I mean, I think at top of day, I was more leaning towards ENCE. I have a bit more familiarity with them. I came in the last 2 weeks. I feel like they're definitely on the up and up, but I can totally understand why people are still standing behind some of the big names that are on Riddle, you know, Senkux there into the mid lane, and kind of the individual brute force performance that this squad can showcase. You talk to the pro players, they're all whispering, Riddle should have been a top 4 team. These guys you have to worry for. And just to echo the analyst desk, it's always just going to be a question of, will these guys show up? Because you're flipping coins, and if it lands on Riddle's side, you know that they can absolutely obliterate you.
One of the things that I've really liked about the last couple of days we've had here on the NLC is the top laner pool has changed. We just had nothing but Orns and just kind of boring top laners. But a lot of our carry top lanes, because there's so much stacked talent in the top lane, 2 of which being Nilly and Doxy, everybody's kind of starting to flex towards these carry top laners. We're getting the Camille's, we're getting the Urgots, we're getting the Jax from last game as well. There's so much carry potential, and I feel like unlocking Nilly on the Camille is actually going to be really, really big in this game. If he can get ahead of Doxy, we could go back to the Nilly that, you know, if you've been following Nilly for a while in the regional leagues, this is what he's known for, playing split pushes and being a nuisance in the side lanes.
I think it's just one of the natures of ERLs, especially at this level. You know, when you get to see these guys on their comfort champions really shine, and specifically like zoning in on this, I'm going to call it a cannonball composition. It's quite popular, or was over in the LPL. They love playing, you know, Camille, Jarvan, Galio, and just you dive onto the backline. If you look across at Riddle, your Syndra and your Ashe, quite low mobility targets with kind of a low range Grave. So I think it can be quite effective, as we are seeing a bit of some level 1 shenanigans, quick call outs. Kindred place down Trinket, swap to Sweeper, so potentially looking for an early gank herself, while on this red buff, Riddle are taking the delayed invade to perhaps look for a split map. So we're going to see if Taiki gets a big heads up here and heads over to Graves red.
I do like that, though, from Simply, the way he positioned in the lane. He spotted the invade, so they know this is going on. ENCE have that information to work with. And Taiki's actually a very switched-on player. His reads on the map have been impressive. His reads on when to counter gank and stuff like that. Looks like he is going to head over. He's got that sweeper, sees the ward, and will just be a trade of the red buffs.
Yeah, but the question is they're actually going to contest it. Because Syncux has mid lane priority here, the minion is pushing in, it actually allows Maxi to cut through mid lane and to very quickly collapse on Kindred here, forcing Kindred off of the buff. So really well set up from Riddle, not only on the initial delayed invade, but then also the vision to kind of cover that and protect against it. It looks like Kindred's just going to take the fat L on this one and get 3 buffed.
That is so rough for Taiki. Actually getting invaded by Doxy as well, so they're really just reading where Taiki's moving around the map here. I mean, they literally just have full information on Taiki. This is so unfortunate for him.
And it's great for Riddle's composition because, again, you're still in this position where you're playing more of the farm-oriented jungler. Graves can just kind of sit back. You're really not pressured by a lot of your lanes. You can say that, or see that Simply is just getting absolutely blasted in this matchup. The last time that they faced, it was, I believe, Orianna versus LeBlanc, and Syncux also got the better of him that time around. So, you know, irregardless of matchup, Simply just really doesn't have a good track record running into Syncux himself. But no pressure on Riddle. They don't need to force their hand here. They can wait for kind of these big level 6 ultimates and start setting up plays while Maxi just continues to farm up in this jungle, and Kindred is just like scraping around for something. Luckily, we'll get the Scuttle Crab as well as the Mark, but otherwise it's like, please, sir, some more peanuts. Like, I need anything in this jungle right now.
Simply has to sit and babysit as well to make sure Taiki doesn't just get jumped onto by Maxi. Maxi is on the other side getting a crab for himself, but quite comfortably ahead at the moment. Although Taiki looking for an invade, it's all completely taken away. Poor Taiki. This is not the kind of start you want on a Kindred.
Yeah, it's not going to feel good. He'll reset and he'll walk bottom towards his Krug camp. There's a potential there that maybe he looks bot lane for a gank with a death sentence, but because it's Ezreal Thresh as well as a Kindred versus Braum Ashe, it's still going to be really hard to try to run into this lane. And on top of that, the minion wave is focus fired pushing forward. I feel like at this point, ENCE are also kind of playing the same game. Like, it's fine. We'll just farm this one out. We'll wait till level 6 on Galio, Camille. Maybe try to make a play there, but they are falling farther and farther behind in the jungle. You can just see the big difference opening up. 17 to 29 CSs. Kindred finally gets a hold of these Krugs.
So we're looking for ENCE, obviously, to look for those level 6 marks, but what is Riddle looking to do here? Obviously, they've kind of propelled Maxi ahead of Taiki, but what are the other win conditions for Riddle's comp?
There's always going to be a window where when you do have a Syndra paired with a Graves, this really high burst damage combo that you can just rock up into the mid lane, hit the scout of the week, and then just immediately blow someone up, regardless if it's a Galio or not. So there's always options there, as well as the fact that you have a Braum. I always think that Braum really empowers the 3v3 when you involve the jungler and kind of gives you up the 2v2 because you're typically taking a melee support that can really be abused, especially by enchanters. So Maxi can either go bot or he can go mid lane and set up with the CC. And it looks like it might be bot, but I think it's just to cover Shrimp here.
Yeah, it's quite a hard one to do, but Taiki actually gone for a little bit of an invade, and collapse is going on to Maxi. Maxi is able to make his way out, though. Should be able to get over the wall of the Dance of Arrows if he needs to. Taiki's trying to look for an opening to get into this jungle and, you know, pick a camp up for himself, pull himself ahead. But every time he does a camp, a hawk shot flies over his head, and Taiki is spotted out. With that information, Riddle are going to use the priority they've got in mid and bot and translate that into an early Infernal Drake for themselves.
Yeah, it's really excellent tracking by Riddle. It's a great job that you called that one out. I do also want to call out the fact that Maxi's actually just doing a wonderful job covering his laners when they are overextending forward. Although maybe we have a bit of a skirmish coming up. Braum and Ashe do have inside track, however.
Yeah, Maxi pretty low here. Taiki looking to try and collapse in. Who's going to get the dragon? It is going to be Riddle, but a two-man taunt comes out by Simply onto the members on the backline. Syncux gets a two-man scout of the week, but First Blood has already been picked up onto Kevo. Unfortunately, we have a little pause in the middle of the scrap. That was a good read there.
Huge shout out there to Wendell Bro, being the real bro and taking the death sentence after the CC taunt stun from the Galio into a nice death sentence. Also credit to Maxi, you know, keeping the focus there, communicating that he did manage to get the smite on the Infernal. That's obviously going to be important. The bad news, though, that I have for you, Hitbrain, is that we're not going to get an Infernal Soul. And when you have a Syndra and a Graves composition, you really want the Infernal Soul.
Yeah, the Infernal Soul's really, really nice for them. Now, taking a step back, Frost, you've been here for 2 weeks now, actually, on the
I'm
the
basically
NLC.
furniture.
Basically furniture, part of the family at this point. What are you making of our newly formed regional league? You enjoying it here? What's your kind of overall power ranking, maybe, for this league?
I think I've been very impressed. Oh, so maybe this is controversial. I feel like Fnatic Rising, again, are head and shoulders. I feel like Excel, maybe it's because they haven't been taking it as seriously. We've heard from Deadly, and then Taxer there in interviews, you know, talking about how they're really trying to limit test, but I feel like it's a bit dangerous because Excel definitely don't look anywhere as clean as Fnatic, who seem that they have, you know, the individual outpowering as well as the macro strategy. Like, they just play you better on the map and in the lane. And then it's quite a big dip. I feel like if Tricked got their hands on Excel, maybe Excel might be having a bad time. And I really just feel like Fnatic Rising's group is mega stacked, and Excel are very lucky to be across the bracket on that one.
You gotta feel sorry for some of the teams at the bottom of that group, the likes of Eminem and stuff like that as well, because that is a tough group. It is a tough group.
Imagine how good Dusty would be if they were just in the other group. Like, they're looking across and like, we could just take all of those teams. What is this?
I mean, yeah, no, I completely agree. This is Group A, which we're currently in. This is Riddle versus ENCE. These two are currently 3rd and 4th in Group A. Nordavind are in 2nd, and then XL are in 1st. XL have dropped a game, so out of all our LEC sister teams over here, XL have dropped a game, but that can also go back to what you were talking about, how, you know, they're having a bit of fun. They're kind of using it as practice, where Fnatic are definitely showing off, you know, what they're here to do, because they actually had a really rough spring split, a really rough spring split. They only won the entire UKLC just because of a miracle comeback through the playoff stage. But XL were firmly in control for the rest of the time. Now we are back into the game and we're back into the fight. Maxi's going to get picked up by Kevo, who gets himself a double kill, make it a triple kill. Senkux looking to come in and save the day here, as Nilly actually hook shots over the wall, trying to find something onto Doxy. Doxy is going to be able to get away towards safety. But that was a pretty scattered fight, and ENCE walk away the better for it.
I feel like we left the pause and we're like, you know, things are going pretty well for Riddle. They just stole away the Drake. Yeah, they lost Braum, but they should be able to disengage. We come back in. Suddenly, Ezreal has a triple kill. Boom, look at those items. He just had a Torrent's Blade before that back. And suddenly, this game vastly changes. Ezreal's going to be hitting a lot harder. Yeah, you're going to have the swap up to the top side, because now we're going to be playing for the Herald that will be spawning soon. But Shrimp now and Windlebow need to be playing much more respectful, because this Ezreal is actually just going to be a pain in the ass.
That is going to be pretty rough. Right. As looks like the swap has come out, like you said. The Riftail spawning up in just under a minute's time. Obviously, the Ashe, even though when you fall behind on Ashe, you do obviously always have that Crystal Arrow as a potential condition to kind of set up for fights. So
all the Ashe players like, I can still help.
Yeah, it's the participation trophy. It's the Malphite who loses lane and then just presses R all game and dies, but at least they pressed R.
I mean, naturally a little bit harder when you're against Ezreal Thresh. You really need to pick your moments. Does mean that Ezreal needs to be much more cautious about when he's burning his E. You can feel out the mental game against a lot of Ashes when they're going to be thinking about throwing it. Huge shout out to Thresh right there, posturing for the Dark Passage, looking for Braum maybe to go a bit more aggressive, as now we're sliding attention onto this Herald. You can see that Graves is in the wings, and Syndra and Galio are just duking it out to see who's going to get first rotation up into this top river.
Looks like it's actually just giving me an equal kind of set on the wave. So neither really has over high priority, but Riddle with Wendelbow and Maxi there will force Simply away. Does leave Riot isolated in this lane. Ashe can be pretty susceptible to a fresh hook, so having to play fairly safe. We did take a moment to quickly look at the vision as well, actually, for ENCE. They do have a lot around the Baron pit. So they do have control of the Herald area for the moment, and that means Riddle will be walking into darkness if they want to contest this.
Yeah, but I feel like Riddle are still need to be respected right now. The nice thing is that Kindred does have access to the ultimate, and so maybe Riddle just sign it off and say, hey, we can't go for the burst as long as Kindred's in the fight. Although as I say that, you can see that Maxi and Senkux are creeping around, possibly looking at contesting this. Ashe Arrow is available. See if they pull the trigger on it, because they're not going to get Herald. Maybe they look for a pick. Nope, just too late to the rotation. And Analyst has kind of called this one out. You know, the macro hasn't been the strongest from Riddle. I'm not going to hit them too hard there. I think that they're okay giving away from this Herald. You'd assume that it'd probably be used in the bot lane, but If they give the plates to the Camille, maybe it turns into a bigger problem, but outside that, I don't think that ENCE's composition can get too much damage done with this Herald.
Yeah, I think it was a good read by Taiki to go for that there, obviously off the back of the priority they got from the wave. But we'll have to talk about in a minute because they're looking to get a pick out. Seth will fall. That's the power of the Ash Arrow and the CC to follow up. And with that, Riddle get their pick.
It's also just the arrogance of that back position right there. You know, they thought that they were on the control ward. Good read from Riddle to recognize that, hey, they're probably not in the greatest position. Kindred's probably taken the reset, and we have a window of opportunity here. Now, that does mean that they're going to be slower on the return back onto map state. So you can see that Taiki there is trying to peek into this jungle, maybe lay down some marks. We'll see if he greeds for the Gromp. Nah, it's just going to be the blue buff.
I'm curious how many marks Taiki's got.
I don't have the power.
He's got 2 at the moment. Fours, whenever I speak to Orcs always talks to me about Four's kind of the first power spike for the Kindred. You get the increased range. So that's like the first kind of check mark for the Kindred.
I mean, Kindred's obviously an important champion to this composition, not just because what she can deny from Riddle's comp, denying a lot of that burst with the ult, but also is kind of like the secondary carry in a sense. So stacking marks, always going to be a good thing, but just the hard carry potential of having the Camille, the Kindred, and Ezreal, because you are running a lower damage mid laner like a Galio. As we kind of turn our attention back to the map, it is going to be the Mountain Drake that's spawning soon. You can see that we've kind of shifted tempo back and forth. It was slight tempo advantage for ENCE. It's now kind of swung back in favor for Riddle now as they have the numbers advantage, even pulling down Urgot without having access to teleport as he's already crossing the mid lane to take this one. And, you know, Riddle on a Drake roll, especially for how powerful their composition is on 2 items with just its sheer burst damage, if they continue to stack up these Drakes, it is going to be bad news bears for ENCE. They need to start planting their feet and really decide when they're going to contest this, because Soul will be a problem at that point in the game.
There will be. Doxy actually getting caught out. Has to flash away underneath his tower. And it's looking for the play. Doxy now flashless. Trying to catch this wave, but the Herald's going to get summoned, and he's going to lose a fair amount here. Nilly may just look for another hook shot onto him if he's not careful. The Ash Arrow goes out, and it's just a little bit too wide. Catching him in with a Hextech Ultimatum. Here's that big cannonball combo. Simply's able to secure the kill, but Riddle, they're looking to fight. They want to contest for a little bit more. Going to use the ulti on to the Galio to catch Simply out, and Senkux with the unleashed power should be able to pick the kill up. Riddle, turn it back around.
Kindred's just like already in the mid lane, like, we had a good run, it's fine, I'll remember you, see you later there. So
peace out, bro.
I know, exactly. Good news for ENCE. You got the plate gold onto Camille. That's where you wanted to use the Herald. If you're going to snowball anyone far ahead, it is going to be in Camille, so you can have that threat into the side lane. Bad news is that it was Galio that picked up the kill, so you didn't get the cherry on top of Camille also then picking up the kill in the initial dive. And then Senkux is the benefactor of the counter gank that allows him to get the kill. So in terms of where the gold is landing, it still feels slightly better for Riddle, just because if you have a Sender who ever gets ahead of the clock, it's going to feel nice. Ezreal, though, still an issue.
Yeah, this is, I mean, you can see the gold lead right now, 1,100 up for the side of Kevo. Obviously, he's sitting on that Sheen and the Manamune. He's got 1,500 gold to spend as well, so...
And the thing about
Ezreal... Curious to see if we see the Iceborne build or the Triforce build here.
I mean, I think you go Trinity, just because you want to maximize damage, and that's usually what we see. I would prefer Iceborne, because I think it's relatively difficult for anyone to stack onto you, and you're denying a lot of damage then from Graves and Urgot. The thing about Ezreal is we don't normally think about him as a hyper carry, but he scales relative to the threat that you have on backline. I'll hold it, though.
Ultis are coming out, teleport as well. Right is just going to get taken out as Kevo's on a rampage. ENCE just bring 5 into the bot lane and get themselves 2 kills. Nice and easy.
Just too easy there. There wasn't even a reaction time. It's something that we're always going to have to keep track of, is the fact that it's double teleport advantage for ENCE, whereas Senkux is running the cleanse, trying to respect the potential taunt that can come out from Galio in that middle lane. Does set up ENCE for a massive play like this, as more and more plates are being funneled into Ezreal, now 5-0. We're to find out very quickly which way he's going to itemize. I feel like it's going to be the Trinity because of how snowballed he is in this game.
And you were kind of hitting on how the 2 item spikes are what Riddle really want to play around. They haven't got a single item yet, apart from Senkux, who has his Luden's Echo. But Kevo should have most of his Iceborne or Triforce, depending on what he goes for this base, but probably going to be that Triforce at this point.
Gonna be very honest.
Finished up onto Simply.
Trundle.
Oh, no, Maxi.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Why are you
no.
there?
Ooh, flashes away. Doxy actually looking to try and turn this around. They get the flip off, and actually, with the fear beyond death, they might be able to find this. Maxi's able to get the kill. They get the knock up, and it's going to be the turnaround. Senkux is onto the flanks. Maxi tries to turn it around, but they actually get the damage onto Simply, who has to flash away. Riddle get a good punish there.
Collapse comes through. Senkux is like, I still got it, baby. Does mean that Shrimp down here does get some time alone with this tower. I wanted to quickly touch upon the Ezreal, who's now back onto the field. It's not the Trinity. He did go for the Iceborne. We talked about maybe he goes this direction. I thought he was going to be feeling himself, try to maximize the damage output, but he's like, listen, all I got to do is out-control and outrange these people. If I have the CC on the Iceborne, I can hopefully keep Graves at arm's length and slowly walk them down. And then back to the bigger point, Ezreal is a hyper carry if you don't have threat to backline. The longer Ezreal gets to stay alive in the fight, obviously the more damage he's going to do. We don't normally think about him as like a Twitch or the Jinx of the old who like they open up late game and they just destroy teams, but Ezreal is absolutely capable of that if you don't have the proper dive tools. And unless Shrimp snags him with the arrow or Senkux is able to blow him up with this Iceborne Gauntlet, Ezreal can just stay alive forever. And as long as he's hitting the skill shots, it will be a massive issue.
I gotta ask, why are you calling rice shrimp?
Doesn't it mean shrimp?
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Unless I'm getting
In
trolled
what
by
language?
the other casters.
Yeah, you're just getting played for a fool right now.
Listen, I'm not approaching any name that has a J in the middle of it. I'm like, I'm American. I can barely speak English. Like, we're just going to roll the dice on this one.
So I'm used to getting flamed for getting players' names wrong, so I'm running with it. I believe it's right, but I could be incredibly wrong on that. I could be so wrong on that.
I'm 100% going to trust you, but buckle up because you're about to get to yell. We have an Ocean spawning in 13 seconds. ENCE have used the Herald to try to get priority in the mid lane and pull Riddle out of this river, where hopefully they send down Kindred just to solo this and get the tower. Some of that clean macro decision making. Riddle need to pull the trigger. They need to be decisive here.
Question is are they going to do anything about it? They know it's going on with a Hawk shot. Riddle sending their members down for the moment. The box is there to slow them as they advance through. The True Shot barrage collects onto too many members, and Riddle, they just lose the dragon, and they're not going to even go for anything. Just going to walk away, giving it up. That's the first one for ENCE.
And that's the perfect example of what the Analyst Desk was talking about and the difference between these teams right now. That was really beautifully set up by ENCE. Again, using the Herald in the mid lane to force Riddle to respond to it. Riddle are then slow moving into the river. They don't have any vision there. It was very nicely kind of hushed out by a lot of these control wards, just kind of that single ward on the front of the dragon pit right there. And Riddle just kind of watched both objectives fall. They lose their mid lane tower, they lose the Ocean. It slows down the Drake roll that they were trying to go for, you know, racing towards that soul, racing for that Elder. And I personally feel that they also get outscaled in this situation. So it's a bit scary if you're a Riddle fan, unless they make some brute force miracle plays to turn this game around.
And I mean, the scary thing is one of the people who outscales is 5-0 already. Kevo is already a monster. He's building towards that Death Stance, got the Warhammer and a fully stacked Muramana at this point, where it is a Blade of the Brewing King on right, and that is it.
I also think a big issue is the fact that Thresh already has access to Gargoyle Stoneplate. Wow, can't get that one out. He may have to use it.
A optimistic ultimate, I'll call that by Wonderboy.
What are we going to call the Flash? Was that also optimistic?
It was opportunistic.
He like came around the corner, made eye contact with the enemy, and was like, oh, my bad. Didn't mean to be here. It's fine. You can take this. Riddle are just hunting. They recognize that they have power still at this point in the game to make picks. They can still burst out people, but they're just playing hit and run League of Legends. This is guerrilla warfare. They're flying into the jungle. They're trying to catch someone off guard, maybe someone in this top lane.
Senkux thinks he has the numbers advantage. He doesn't actually know Taiki's in the bush, so they're just going to Protobelt in. The taunt's on, the cleanse is down, but Maxi won't be able to save the day. Taiki does take a lot of damage in response as Maxi tries to snipe him out of the collateral damage. Taiki will survive as the Ash Arrow will actually connect, and Maxi jumps back in. He might just look to try and turn this onto one. The flash forward by Wendelboe simply gets the taunt, uses the stopwatch, but he will be sacrificed as Maxi picks up the kill. Should be a turret to follow here for Riddle. Guerrilla warfare working out.
Yeah, I'm going to say impressive turnaround there. Nice arrow to clean it up. I do want to kind of focus in on some of the execution that we're seeing in these team fights and keep track of it as we progress over the course of this game, namely the Kindred ultimate. In this situation, you saw the Kindred ultimate used to absorb the damage from the Graves ultimate to kind of block it. We talked about its ability to protect against champions like Syndra or Graves. Now the thing is Maxi can actually just wait. There's also the setup there where if Kindred blows her ultimate too early and then everyone gets really low damage sitting on that ult, it just lines it up perfectly for Maxi to just start shooting fish in a barrel. So that's always what you're looking for. Like, did the Kindred ultimate get used too early or too late? And what does Graves ultimate do around that?
In that case, it saved Taiki's life. It unfortunately didn't save Simply's. So we've got Riftdale spawning up in a little bit. So far, the Vision is pretty much in control of Riddle around the area. They haven't really got too many wards down there. Sorry, I'm brain farting. It's Baron up, so I don't think we're actually going to see Riddle try and sneak a Baron away at 20 minutes. I don't think they're quite in a position to do so, although I do believe ENCE probably could try and sneak it away with how fed this Ezreal is. So Riddle probably have to be a little aware of that.
One of the issues that Riddle's comp does have is their inability to turn off of a Baron because they are playing red side and they don't have a lot of gap closers on their comp. You know, obviously Graves can go over wall, but Ashe and Syndra are pretty low mobility. So if they do start the Baron, they're really plugged into that pit, and the only option they have is to turn off with the ultimates and the intention of fighting, rather than some compositions that do have the ability to dance around the Ezreals, the Kindreds, to kind of peek in, maybe poke the Baron, see if it's warded, then just kind of zip over the wall if they feel that they're in danger.
Oh my lord, Wendelboe takes so much damage from Kevo. Nilly does miss out on the hook shot a little bit there, so Wendelboe is able to survive. Did throw down the ultimate, right? Looking for an opportunity to get someone out with the ultimate. Doxy throws down the Fear Beyond Death onto Kevo as this is just an absolute scrap that ENCE want to take. Maxi's caught inside the ulti by Nilly. And it's just a double kill, nice and easily picked up for ENCE. They are going to chase on for another one. Wendelboe able to get away. 3 for none. ENCE can turn to Baron.
Yeah, just the target selection right there, thinking that they had cut out the support. We called it out earlier. The Gargoyle Stone Plate was already completed by the Thresh. He's sitting at 0, 1, and 7. He's got plenty of gold to his name. He's a very fat support, and that just allowed him to turn around and be like, okay, you could try to kill me. Presses the item, lays down the box, and then the time and the ultimates that Riddle invests trying to take him down, instant clean up the team fight, and then turn to the Baron. They're now starting to sprint away with this game. Riddle are running out of chances to make an impact here.
Chushot actually spotted out Senkux, and now teleport's coming in from Nilly. He's looking for a hookshot flank here. Doxy's also come in, and Nilly, maybe in a little bit of an awkward position for the moment, is able to get away, and Kevo just jumps into Senkux's face, almost finds himself the kill. Nilly still continue to be a nuisance on the flank, and this will be the second dragon picked up for ENCE. Riddle just want nothing to do with it.
It is just cruise control right now for ENCE. The fact that Ezreal feels so confident to jump forward on Syndra's face to look for those snipes there. Nice control as well. Camille coming in from the side on the flank didn't actually pull the trigger and force any sort of extended engagement. They stayed true to the objective, and this is what I really liked seeing from ENCE. It's kind of that patience and that discipline. They've been developing week over week, which is why the analysts were so confident backing ENCE, despite the fact that Riddle just rolled them in lane phase the first time these teams met.
And with this, you can see ENCE up pretty comfortably in the gold. They've been able to equalize out on the Drakes. See what they can do with this Baron. They've still got a fair few turrets to deal with. The tier 1 stands in the top lane. You can see the gold lead on your screens, and it just dropped. Went massively in favor of ENCE in the last few moments.
I feel like the damage the Baron will really do is kind of close the door on any sort of playmaking potential Riddle had in this game, as ENCE will just continue to sprint away from them and then eventually outscale them. Now, potential saver could be this Urgot. I've seen Urgot do some ridiculous things, but he's still really far down in his itemization right now. And if Riddle do find maybe a key pick with an Ashe Arrow and then blow him up with the Graves ultimate, still quite difficult, because even if you can't hit the Ezreal, you're still then dealing with the Dark Passage available from Thresh to pull anyone else to safety. So again, I feel like the Baron won't end the game in terms of the Nexus going down, but it may end the game because Riddle are playing from the back foot on a window where they needed to be playing proactively, and then they're just going to lose any sort of window of power where their composition could have fought back.
Yeah, those 2 items that you were hitting on have come through, so this is kind of that quote-unquote power spike, but...
Yeah, but look at Ezreal. He's like,
just like how can you power spike against a 3-item Ezreal? You got the Phantom Dancer on the Kindred as well. Taiki's got 2 items. They're just... Everyone on ENCE is up right now.
Yeah, that QSS as well, so there's no way to try to CC lock Kindred without her ultimate coming through and just ruining your whole day. Riddle needs to pick the perfect play, whereas ENCE, they're not getting too much out of this Baron anymore. They didn't actually do a great job syncing their waves. That is something to kind of track in terms of their development, but obviously not in any sort of danger of throwing the game and can still play this one really slow to the Ocean Soul.
And it feels like, oh, Senkux is dead. Kevo's just going to snipe him out of the true shot. Right, does have that ultimate, and maybe they look for a punish here. Kevo's going to use the shift, he's going to get caught out. They're jumping in with the Galio ultimate, though, and now the turnaround's here for ENCE. Everybody on Riddle's going to get taunted out by Simply. Rice trying to put the damage in, but Kevo is back into the fight. Wendelbo gets exhausted and sniped out on the back line. Kevo takes the kill. Nilly chums in with a hook shot, goes in with a Hextech ultimatum. Rai is pinned underneath the tower. Doxy's the only one standing as he gets taunted and chased after. ENCE with a clean ace.
And surely that's going to be it. You see the white flag come out for Thresh there, even the Kindred ultimate to make sure that the tower doesn't take down his support. Riddle saw their moment. They knew that the game was closing in on them. They had to take a chance. They threw out the arrow, and unfortunately, ENCE just slapped them with the wallet.
And I mean, ENCE are going to play it a little bit chill. They don't want to just try and overcommit and throw the game right here, right now.
Even if the game doesn't end here, that was like the nail in the coffin.
Yeah. I mean, they literally threw everything onto Kevo, and they just couldn't cut it down. The Death Dance, the Iceborne Gauntlet, just gave him so many resistances and so much survivability that he rejoined that fight with half health after he got everything thrown at him.
Now he's going to go the Blade of the Rune King, which means he's going to be able to kite Maxi and Doxy that much easier. You're never going to touch Kevo at this point.
That's the hyper carry. That is the hyper carry.
He's got the hyper carry scoreline. Okay.
I mean, Taiki, considering how hard he got punished and put behind in the early game, 5-1 and 8, up in CS over Maxi. Obviously, this comes off the back of Kevo being so fed, but he's just had a really, really good read on this game to be able to pull it back for his team and hasn't let that kind of really horrible early game get to him and throw him off.
I mean, I think ENCE just had a good read. It obviously helps your jungler out when your bot lane gets 3 kills and then just starts smashing from there, and then you get so much space to really work with and farm your way back in. I also love the read from the coach. I'm going to assume that, you know, they saw how the Simply versus Senkux matchup went the first time that these guys faced. Now it's Syndra versus Galio. Simply can't die in this matchup here. Like, yeah, he can get bullied around, but it's the perfect pick to just absorb and band-aid. This is probably going to be the last fight for Riddle. You can see Camille in the back line. Where's she going to go?
Oh, instantly in for the big wombo combo. Everybody gets caught out by the bounce house. A shutdown's already been picked up by Doxy, and they actually do trade out 1-for-1. Rice trying to kite out the damage as Kevo actually gets himself caught inside the pit. There's no lantern to keep him alive. He is able to shift away over the wall, though, and Riddle, their health bars are very, very low, but they're committing for this. Taiki just jumps into the pit, though. He's going to try and secure it for the team. Not able to do so as Maxi gets it. They use the ultimate to try and keep him alive for the moment, but Doxy jumping through the middle of everyone. And ENCE are just going to be able to take the fight. Riddle are sent packing with low health bars. And Kevo hot on the heels for the kills.
Teleport. Galio's in the base. He's ending the game.
This is it. Senkux doesn't have the health bar to work with. They managed to get 3 dragons. They simply is just going to kite them and cut them off. The turret will stand momentarily as Riddle just need their moment to try and heal, but the turret's going to die to the minion wave, and the True Shot Barrage snipes out Maxi on the backline. And ENCE looking just to snap the jaws shut on this game.
Final TP's coming in. This is surely going to be the push. 5 men strong. Riddle with their backs against the wall. What's going to be the KDA? How many more kills does Ezreal get?
Well, he's going to get himself pinned up by the concussive blows here, but instantly gets the cleanse off the QSS. Rice trying to kite, but he is just melted. As Doxy goes golden in the middle of the team, he will go down. 1 more ace over to ENCE. 28 minutes on the clock, 23 kills on the scoreboard. ENCE close out clean and crisp over Riddle.
statement game coming out of ENCE here. You know, this was a team that I think a lot of people had put into the bucket that their macro was strong, but against a team like Riddle, maybe they individually don't match up. But with a scoreline like that, 23 kills on the board, absolutely flexing on the back end of those team fights, ENCE are proving that week on week, they've set the bricks, they are building the beautiful house, and they are here to compete.
And it's a great way for ENCE to show their growth as well, because they started out by losing to Riddle. They then come back with revenge, say, no, we have improved across the last few weeks. We're going to get a win here. And now they're looking to go through into the forward foot. They're equal to Riddle in the scoreboard now, going into the second stage of the round robin, 3-3 apiece. And ENCE, they look to be on an upwards trend, and Riddle kind of left with their head scratching. They've got a very stacked roster, but it just didn't come into fruition. Now, guys, we are going to round it out there. We're going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back, we'll have our analyst desk break that game down. So don't go anywhere. See you after the break.
Hands up, generation, Nintendo education, other kinds of wealth. We found this animation, luck was a conversation, pictures on a shelf. People say we are just what we do. It's just a stage. So we go on, and the lights are so strong. Just have to make this sound. We've broken ground, it's a countdown. We go on. An invitation, a soapbox, imagination, use it while you can. A handheld illumination, LCD appellation, show up is the plan. Oh, they say we are just what we do, and it's all a stage. So we go on, and the lights are so strong. Just have to make this sound. We've broken ground, it's a countdown. We go on.
I have 3 words, easy for ENCE. And I think what we saw there was we saw a team who were better. Sure, there's strong individuals on Riddle, but ENCE are a team, and they demonstrated that in that game.
I guess after that speech, it's my time to apologize, right? I pride myself in being the underdog gal right here, standing behind the underdogs. ENCE did come in as the underdog. Apparently, they're not. Riddle have labeled themselves as underdogs here. I talked about how skill-wise, they would get outperformed on every single lane. Boy, was I wrong. All it took for them was one fight at the Dragon to lose the entire game.
I think the way that I look at this now is that we asked the question before the game. At what point do we just turn around and say, Riddle aren't living up to expectations? They aren't as good as we think they are. This is my point. This is my break-off point. I've consistently voted for Riddle in my predictions. I've consistently backed them because I know the individual skill of the players is good, but as a team, just not working. That's it. My vote for Riddle is down the drain now.
I think I'm going to be the one to say it. I've been the one that's been there since day one, right? Since they helped me with that upset against BTXL. And I'm just going to straight up say it. Riddle, you're not a good team right now. Actually, it's a tragedy watching you play. But that's not why I like you. Screw the victories. Like, you come back, right? You don't watch Riddle for the stats, for the victories. You watch it for the magic, okay? So you guys can keep your harsh words. I prefer the magic, okay?
I'm pretty sure you used harsh words right there. I don't mean to put devil spawn here, but yeah.
I mean, you just
quickly,
did just straight call them bad there, so I think that's the harshest one.
What magicians were you watching as a kid, Gilbog? Because it must have been incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, it's not PG's 30. There was some Danish magicians. That's a story for another time, for sure.
Okay, let's reflect on that game though. Let's get into the serious business. Let's reflect on how ENCE pulled out that victory. I think in no small part due to Kevo, on one of his best champions, had a stellar game, right?
And I think Kevo for a while has been quite heavily underrated. I saw when this roster has been put together with a full finished lineup, I thought Kevo was one of the players on that roster that instantly I thought he's a solid addition to the team. And you can see that it was, although it was the Kevo show in the sense he was getting all these kills, the team really set him up. And I think Taiki, he had a bad start in that game and he managed to bring it back. We saw Seth on a Thresh pick just making so many plays for the team. And I think the ultimate thing was the coordination. We see a composition like that, and it's a little bit similar to what we saw from Fnatic Rising today, where we have great engage tools and then we have great follow-up with the likes of the Galio, and they implemented it so well. They forced so many players off the back of that. And then there was that team fight around the Dragon where they managed to find the advantages. There was that team fight around mid lane where they managed to bait Riddle into it and turn it around. I think the coordination between this team is huge. And you can see that them being on the same page, them being a full finished lineup is really working well for their development.
And we also talked about, you know, the wombo combos that they can pull off and how they would help him if they maybe slept up. And how did they work? You know, the Camille goes into the Galio was slamming down, and that Syndra could actually be a non-factor at all. Because even if she managed to survive and she pressed her R button, which it's not a shockwave, you know, it's not a skill shot, you can't necessarily miss it. But the Kindred was there, Taiki was there. He might have not pulled through with a level 2 gang, but he pulled through with not allowing the Syndra to get ahead. And honestly, I felt like the match was won when that first Dragon went down. The 3 kills onto Kevo, I think, solidified the entire game. Taiki fell behind. Maxi was way ahead before that Dragon went down. And after that, it just seemed to all fall apart from Riddle. They couldn't find their footing. They didn't set properly for vision. They didn't want to fight for mid. They just didn't want to fight. And when they took the fight, it was way too late. ENCE was like 8,000 gold ahead, and they just smashed them.
Well, let's take a look at the play of the game from this time round, and you can walk me through what happened in this particular moment in the game. This was definitely a pivotal fight for ENCE.
And I think it was just a beautiful coordination displayed here. You see how Riddle are looking for this fight. They're trying to engage on a Seth. And watch this great hook he finds right onto Rai here. And that's instantly the signal to go. Everyone looks to re-engage from the side of ENCE, and they instantly just find a quick turnaround. And you can see as soon as there was a moment where Seth felt like he was in an uncomfortable position, the communication was there, the rest of the team was there to follow, and the mechanics as well. These players really stepped up in that regard, and we saw Seth with a beautiful hook to set that play up.
Yeah, and honestly, to me, this just showcases how ENCE really has evolved as a team. Like, if you watch the VODs back to back of the first game versus Riddle and this game versus Riddle, it's two different teams, really. Like, individually, ENCE are playing better. As a team, ENCE are playing better. And the fight that Orkstrad highlighted, I think it just showcases that.
Well, I actually have Stefe to talk to after that game. I'm actually excited to chat to him because ENCE have been going from strength to strength. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, I hope you're doing well. Obviously, it's the first time that we've got to chat to you, so it's good to have you on the show. Firstly, do you think that you might be the most underrated team in the NLC?
I mean, I'm not sure if I would say the most underrated, but I think week by week we have gotten a lot better, and we are definitely up in the contention of our top of our group. Like we can compete with. I think like we will able to compete with Excel eventually, because week by week we are getting better.
I don't actually disagree with that statement. I actually think I genuinely believe that you could, especially with the way XL are playing, the way you are playing right now. Like you said, you're going from strength to strength. And I actually want to expand on that a bit more. What is it you feel like you've been building on week? What are the main points of improvement for you as a team throughout the NLC so far?
Well, first we had a lot of problems in the early game, but now I think our early game is relatively good, and now we struggle a bit in the mid game. Sometimes we slow down, or we don't know what to do, or we lose farm on the side lanes. It's like macro case, but once we fix that, then we will be really strong, I think.
No, I think you're already selling yourself short. I do genuinely think you're already a very strong team. I mean, the ENCE from week 1 to the ENCE to week 4 is like a completely different beast. You guys look so much improved and so much different from where we saw you in the first week. As well as Kavo's been seemingly going from strength to strength. You guys in the bot lane are starting to solidify yourself as a really strong 2v2. What is it that you think that your strengths as a 2v2 are compared to some other bot laners in the league?
Well, I think I'm not sure really, but compared to first week, what you said, like we were really nervous, I think, in the first 2 games, and it kind of showed. But now we're a lot more confident in ourselves, and like we're playing lane safe really well, and usually we can contest and objectives and time our lane swaps really well, and that has been our strength at the moment, I think.
Yeah, honestly, everyone is complimenting you on the way that you're approaching the game, just from a sort of sense point of view. You know, the macro that you've got just seems really on point. So I think I want to see more of this ENCE. I want to see that rematch versus BTXL. I want to see if you can actually take the fight to the top end of the table, because it really feels like you can. Honestly, congratulations. Thanks for talking to me, Stefe, and
Thank you too. Yeah, see you soon.
It's nice to see him. He obviously the team looks really happy. I think that was Kavo that came up behind him and just gave him a little cameo in the back there from Kavo. Yeah, really great to hear from them. They all seem really confident, and they're also being really realistic about their improvement as well. And I don't disagree with his statement. I think that if they continue the way they are, genuinely feel like they can contest the likes of BTXL, which I think is going to be a really interesting match if we get to it. Let's take a look at some of the replays from today then. Let's go and reflect on our day and sort of assess those games, because we had some expected and some unexpected results too. I'm just waiting. I'm being told we've got a few seconds. Any second now. Any second we're going to get the replay package at some point soon. It's all good.
You don't even have a watch in your hand, Box. There's no watch to look at.
Which particular game, like, I think, let's discount the Fnatic game. Which game sort of was most exciting for you, Trouble?
So, obviously, it would have to be the last game, honestly, for me, the ENCE versus Riddle, because I just really believed in Riddle. Not that I didn't believe in ENCE pulling through. And honestly, the interview, Stefe sounded so humble, and I think he underestimates how strong his team is right now and how he can match up against the likes of BTXL. You know, if that Riddle can't beat BTXL, then that ENCE can for sure beat BTXL as well. And seeing, as we see BTXL on our screens right now as well, they're not the cleanest right now.
Honestly, to me, it's the exact same. I had some expectations coming into Riddle. This for me was the make it or break it game. But to me, this was also what I expected from ENCE in the beginning. This is the kind of team that I had predicted them to be. And this is the kind of team I wish they were in the beginning. So I'm extremely relieved to see that they're finally able to come together as a team and just really smash it and showcase it. Especially Kevo. Really nice for that guy to finally highlight how good of a player he is too.
I think my point for today, obviously it wasn't a super significant game, but Fnatic. I think this team has been consistently performing, and we've had a lot of games here from the group with, you know, your Riddles, your ENCE, your BTXL, but Fnatic is looming over in that Group B, and I think it's really concerning because as much as there's a lot of development coming out for the likes of ENCE, we're seeing BTXL, as much as they're struggling a little bit to grow, they're still a formidable team, but I really think whoever has to match up against Fnatic when it comes to playoffs is going to have a rough time because I think the meta suits them. I think Dan is super strong on this patch and he's a really formidable jungler, and I think they're a massive target to beat. I think ENCE may be looking towards likes of XL as their next stepping stone, but Fnatic are lumbering and they are the reigning champions of the UK and looking to become champions of the Northern League.
And just quickly to touch on that too, because I completely agree with Oxy. I think he brings in some great points. The meta really suits them, but as players too, I feel like they're showcasing themselves more individually. Like Pride, for example, a guy like that last split went under the radar. Even Bravado was coming clutch, even though he's been having his Taric a lot of the times. Together as a team and individually, I feel like Fnatic is just showing off.
I think you guys raised a really good point because we talk about like the development of the middle of the pack in this league so much so over the last few weeks. It's been pretty clear that the middle of the pack has been getting better. ENCE is a clear example of that. But I just get that feeling when I watch Fnatic play. It's not like when I watch XL play, when I think there is cracks, there is potential weaknesses. When I watch Fnatic play, I'm just like, these guys are going to stomp everybody. Like this is just going to, like that's the genuine feeling that I get watching that team. So I do think there is a little bit of a jump to the Fnatic rising. That's always been the case. Even when XL looked at their best, they still couldn't take them down in a best of 5. So we'll obviously see as the weeks go on. Speaking of such, let's have a look at the standings because we've come to the end of week 4 here. And like I said, we are now just about halfway through the split. Over in Division A, BTXL at the top, but Nordavind very hot on the heels. A little bit of a gap opening up between the middle of the pack, but like ENCE said, they are very keen to find that rematch. They're very keen to show that they've grown since the first time they matched up against BTXL. Let's have a look at the other side of the coin in Division B. And again, like we said, Fnatic 5-0 right now. Very strong position. Tricked very close by at 4-1, but there is more of a gap in Division B than there is in Division A.
Feels like there's almost like a fixed ceiling with Fnatic being there. Like Tricked are really showing a lot, and I love to see how they'd match up against the Group A teams, but it just feels like Fnatic is just a big gap between them and a big glass ceiling to overcome.
Yeah, I think you're probably very right, and I think we'll talk about the games coming up next week right at the end here. But before we close out, we always select a particular play of the day. So we have our plays of the matches, but at the end we like to highlight a play of the day that really impressed us. And Trouble, I think it's pretty clear which one really stood out to us. Let's walk through this one.
It couldn't be no other than the hat-trick triple kill right here. Like Dan mentioned before, Sendu, all he's doing here is just playing time basically for his mid laner to come in, and when Hatrix comes in, he wreaks havoc on these 3 members. He doesn't care. He sets so wisely his soldiers inside the bush, and then the Shurima shuffle throws everyone back onto the soldiers, flashes the ult as well. That was just such a supreme display of skill coming in from the mid laner of BTXL, and it looks like if he is set up for with vision, with roams, with love, protection, and some assistance, he can actually carry the team to victory. And it felt like between BTXL now and BTXL yesterday, he was the difference factor.
I actually want to reflect on something that we talked about right at the start of the season with BTXL. We were talking about Hatrix's playstyle in the SLO compared to Hatrix's playstyle, which we expected to see from him joining over XL, you know, playing more towards Deadly. That was more like a Hatrix SLO performance. That was Hatrix for lane, Hatrix for me, Hatrix for carry. And I actually think that's healthier for XL in the long run, because I think relying on Deadly as your own like resource funnel into Deadly. Orc said it. It's predictable. It's one trick. It's kind of what we expect from Excel. I think this is a healthier version if they can continue this. That actually I think is going to go from strength to strength from this point onwards.
And honestly, if I can put a little bit of a little stone on the castle that BTXL is building together with Hatrix, of course. I remember Hatrix playing in the EU Masters and trying to beat lane. You know, he was on all of these assassins. I was actually, I was pretty sure. I'm like, oh, this guy is an assassin mid lane player, right? He loves the echoes. He loves the LeBlancs. And then he will pull a Katarina and I will like start shouting out of happiness about it. But he's coming in here. He completely swaps his playstyle. It seems like it's not suiting him necessarily completely, you know, with the Galio and playing for the bot lane dives. But when he's like, listen up, guys, how about we swap it around? Instead of playing for bot lane or jungle, we just play for me this time. And we saw that 2v2 with him and his jungler shine through. You remember that tweet from week 1? Yeah, now we just saw that.
And I feel like it's a great point because to me, Hatrix was trying to do a special cosplay this whole time.
Yeah.
He was trying to fill the hole that he left. And I think finally, even though it wasn't a super clean game from BTXL, we're seeing BTXL say, okay, we have Hatrix now. We are going to play like we have Hatrix and not like we have a replacement for special. And I think that is the growth that we want to see. And hopefully they manage to keep working on that towards the end of the split.
Yeah, completely, guys. And obviously, we have more weeks of NLC to come. Next week on Tuesday, we will have Singularity versus Nordavind, Fnatic versus Barrage, M&M versus Munster, and Tricked versus Dusty. Make sure you join us at the same time, same place on twitch.tv/NLC LOL. We'll see you soon.